Right, okay, everybody. I'm just going to make a very simple pinch pot just to show you how to sort of manipulate clay, really, and how to. It's a really good way of starting to learn how clay behaves, and a nice thing to do. It's a nice calming thing to do. But mainly, you're sort of doing lots of different things that. To construct it, to put it together, and you'll be learning how clay works. And it's a dead simple process. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in your home. You can do it in the studio. You can do it, outside. It doesn't really matter. And it's just a really nice way to get used to using clay. So we're making a very simple two-part pinch pot. Okay, so we start off with two equal-sized balls of clay, like so. This is just a standard stoneware clay. And just before we start, I'll just talk you through this. This is just some slip here, and it's exactly the same clay, but it's dried out and then it's soaked in water, so it's slaked down, as we say, and made into a slip, and that will act like our glue. The other thing you will need is a pointy tool like that. Now this is called a mounted needle, but you can use a cocktail stick or a sharpened bit of wood, or even the end of your nail. It's not, you don't have to have a specialist tool for this. It's just something that, anything with a pointy end, really. Okay, so start off, and then what you do, get your thumb and you push it right down into the ball of clay, like so, and you start working the clay together like so until you create a little cup, almost like a little bowl. Now you can see this clay's been out for a minute or two, well, more than that, and it's got a little bit dry, but that doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna, and we want it nice and equal, so you need to be moving it round like so, making sure it's pinched out, and that's why it's called a pinch pot, obviously, because it's pinched out. So that's one side. As you can see there, the clay's a little bit dry, but once we add the slip, that should be absolutely fine. So again, thumb in, and then start moving it around straight away so you get an equal wall. You don't want a wall that's too thick or too thin, and we're going right the way down. If you pinch it out like so, you'll get a plate rather than a little bowl, and we want a little bowl. Now the idea here is we're going to make a hollow form. Now the reason we make it hollow is obviously we don't want to waste clay, but also it dries out evenly then. If you make a big chunky piece of pottery and it's not hollow, it's going to take ages to dry, and there's every chance that there's a little bit of air or something trapped in there, and we don't want that because it can cause problems in the kiln. And you might say, when I put this together, there's air in it, but there is I'll point out what we do right at the end. So we're just going to scratch that surface there, and this is going to act like a key. So when you glue something together, that's what you do. So just demonstrate with my hands, if you can imagine, we're doing that. So all these we're roughing up the surface, so you're creating a really strong join like so. And we do it on both sides. So we're going to do it on that side as well. So just scratch into the surface, a bit like cross hatching when you're drawing. And as you can see, this tool is really good for doing that, but like I say, you can use any kind of little sharp tool like a nail or anything like that, something that's freely available. So once we've done that, we've got our slip here. Now this will act like our glue, so we're going to put a little bit round the edge there, and this also helps it stick together, but also stops any air being trapped. And we're going to rough that surface up again just to make sure that join's really strong. Put that down, and then again just use a little bit slip around here, and then we can put the two together. Okay, so just simply place them together like so, and you can see that they're equal size, and then using your thumb you need to drag the two pots together like so. Obviously at first it's a little bit slippy because we've got slip on there, and we can just use our fingers. Now the best tools you've got are your hands, so that's what we're going to do. Very basic tools, and we're just going to use our thumb here, and then turn it around, and then same again. And we're going to do this so we're creating that nice strong joint, and the clay, all the particles in the clay are coming together, and they're not going to split apart, as you can see now. It's coming together rather nicely. Now the thing about this is, because we've put these two bits of clay together, we've got air trapped in the middle, and because there's air trapped in the middle, you can start manipulating it without it sort of, you know, deflating. So you can start manipulating it round without it deflating. Now don't be too, you know, rough with it, because obviously it's quite fragile, but you can certainly, you know, really smooth it out. And you can spend hours and hours on these things, you know, really smoothing it out. And as it gets sort of drier and drier, you can sort of almost polish the surface. It's called burnishing, and you can polish the surface of these and make them look absolutely, you know, immaculate. And you can manipulate it into all kinds of different shapes, and then from there you would start constructing something. So you could make, you know, a figure, you could make a head, you could make an animal, you could make a pot. So all these different things you can do. As you can see, you can manipulate it. Sometimes you can just tap it on the surface, you know, a nice wooden board or something, just to create all these different sort of areas here where we can flatten it off. But the whole point is just the idea of using it to construct, and then you can decide what you want to do with it. You know, make it sort of quite angular, and then you can, obviously you could add texture to it. There's so many different things you can do, and as you can see, I've spent only a few minutes on this, and already we've got a nice little sort of sculpture that we can sort of, you know, do anything with. And as we work into it, as you can see, it's nice, and as we work into it, we can get it smoother and smoother. Now, obviously, this is just a very simple demonstration, and whatever you want to do with it, you can do, but I'm just going to finish it, you know. And then finally, before you complete the pot, you need to put a little hole just where you can't see it. It only has to be fine, so just down there where it's, and that will let all the air out. Now we need to let the air out, because when that goes into the kiln, or when it starts drying, the clay shrinks, but the air inside doesn't. So what will happen is the clay will shrink because all the water's coming out of it, but the air won't, and it will split. And particularly when it goes into the kiln, because as you know, clay shrinks pretty dramatically, you know, for anything from, you know, 5, 10, 13, sometimes 20%. If you can think of that sort of pushing against the air inside, it will just split, or even in the kiln it will explode, and we don't want that. So a little hole in the base of it is perfectly adequate for letting that air out and making sure that your pot comes out intact and it's not going to explode. There you go, nice little simple idea that you can do anywhere.